out on my backgammon board, and I was going to do all sorts with it. I was going to leave the pockets in and things like that, but the side things for putting the pieces in, but I'm not going to bother. What I've done is I've glued the two halves together like so, because this is a hard bit, and you saw it in two halves originally, and you can see there that there are I've glued it up with neat PVA. I will call it PVC, it's PVA, polyvinyl acetate glue, and you can use any type of glue you want really, but I've got it, so I'm using that. And I've been very careful, and I've let it dry so there's no bubbles. You don't want any bubbles there, you don't want anything at all really. And I cut a piece of card, and I cut a piece of black material underneath it. There's a piece of card. This paper is like terrible for rolling. Yeah, I've just cut a piece of 2mm card, and I've got about 3/4 of an inch all the way around. And what I'm going to do is just cut the corners, put the bookends in, and then glue it up and turn it over. And then once I've done that, I'll probably put another piece on the top to cover it so there's nothing showing underneath, and then I'll put that on top, and then this will have a nice black edge all the way around it as normal. And then what I'll do, I'll glue that on, and then I'll probably varnish it. So you can see I'm going to put these cut pieces here. They will be like so. Like that. A nice straight edge, and it looks something reasonable. They're not terrific, but I mean you can buy these quite cheaply. I'm just doing it because I enjoy it. I'm not doing it for any other reason. And I looked on Amazon, and the little pieces of wood that I wanted, oh, excuse me a minute while I get it. I'm just yeah, what I do is I usually cut a brush handle up like this, and then you can use them for playing pieces. But this is an inch. It's 25mm, 2.5 centimeters, and it's just that little bit too big. And what I want is a 2 centimeters, just a little bit shorter. And I'll clean them up and do my best. And I've just sent for a couple of brush handles, one at 1 inch and one at 3/4 or 2 centimeters. And I'll paint one side red and the other side black, or one side red and the other side white, or whatever takes me fancy. And I'm going to buy myself another little saw or a couple of blades, so I'll make a reasonable edge, and that'll save me a lot of work. My saw's not very good at the moment, so I'll spend a couple of bob and get a decent saw if I'm going to make a few of them, because I'll need 30 for that. You need 15 aside for backgammon. But these pieces to buy, I think they're about £7 odd for a thing, and then they're about something like £6 to send. They're a ridiculous price. I don't know what it is, and they want about £11 for just the pieces. So and I want the right pieces, so I know that it's got to be. They don't tell you the size of the pieces, so, and I do want 2 centimeters. 2 centimeter pieces, or 20mm, which will fit on them exactly. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of work, and when I've finished it, I'll show you what I've done. So I'll stop there. Oh yeah, and I got a few dies, a few different colour dies. I think they cost me about £3 these, different ones. So if I make a couple of boards, I can use different dice. They are plastic. These, they don't look plastic. Look a bit. They look a bit cheap, but they are plastic. And I've got the black and white ones as well. So this should offer a little bit of thing up, and I can do my own colours. I can do the dice and the things together at the same colour. a little bit of acrylic paint. I've got a set of acrylic paint, so I've got a fair amount of average colours to do the pieces with. So, and acrylic paint's not all that expensive. So once you've got the little bits and pieces, that's the outlay. Suppose you spend about a tenner or so. You can make as many bloody games as you want. And it's just for the fun of it. I mean, the games are quite cheap anyway. I think you can get all these games for about a tenner if you want. But they're not made by you. They're not substantial. These are, when you finish these, if you do them yourself, they'll last for years and years and years. They won't go scruffy at the corners or anything because you made them. You made them to your specifications. Anyway, I shall stop there, and when I've done a little bit more, I'll carry on. Okay, well, I've done a little bit more, and what I've done, I've just put the sheet on over the top. Which was 2 halves, if you remember, 2 halves of foolscap, and all I've done is covered the board in that sort of pseudo buckram, which has got a buckram finish to it. It isn't actually buckram, it's just paper, and I put the book ends in just like you do on a normal book, and flattened it all down. And what it's doing now, it's bending forward, and then it'll bend itself back. So it'll go out of shape. It'll go in that way. That's a terrific bow, that. I don't know if you can see it in the camera properly, but it will bow backwards, and I'll place it down that way to let it come back. And then what will happen is then I'll put this other piece of paper over the top, and that should pull it backwards. I'll put another piece of paper underneath to cover up all the imperfections from this. I don't want that to show, so I'll put another piece of paper the same size, or just under that size underneath. A couple of pieces of foolscap or A4 paper, cut to shape and then stuck down. And then I'll stick this down, and then that should be okay. And then what I'll do, I'll put a coat of varnish on the top. And while I was messing about and waiting, I did the rules for backgammon, and I've got there's books on 100 odd pages and strategy and theorems and stuff like this, but this is just the basic rules. And the top picture there is the picture of that board that I took, and the bottom picture is from one of the lads who did a presentation of the game. It's got red's home or inner board, red's outer board, white's outer board, and white's home or inner board, and it's got plenty of information. And I put that on the front so as you can see how to set it up. That's how the game's set up. White on this side travels that way, and black, I always call them white and black, even though it's red, and red will travel this way, and the bar is in the middle, and this is where you put your little pieces in the box when you've got one in a travelling case. But I haven't put mine on, I haven't done that. I'll just make a little case like a drafts case and put the pieces in, and that's the doubling cube at the side, picture of it. And a couple of things I learnt in this which I didn't know, and one of them is that when you throw the dice are thrown as 1 and 2. They're not thrown as a pair, they're thrown as a, I don't mean they're not thrown as a pair, but they're not classed as a pair, they're classed as individual. If you throw a 2 and a 1, one of the dice is 1 and one of the dice is 2. So you can move one piece 1 and one piece 2, or one piece actually goes 3. But the thing that I was trying to get to was you cannot move over another piece. It's quite hard to show you without thinking. But if there are pieces there and it's blocked, and your number would have been 1, 2, 3, and there was 2 pieces on there of a different colour, you couldn't actually move that. You can't make that move because you're throwing the dice as individual dice. I'd never seen that rule before. I'd never noticed it. Anyway, I played the game for years and still never noticed that rule. I just found it in this book. And I'll stop there anyway. Okay, well, I'll start again. And as I was saying, I was on about the book, and I'll see if I can find that little rule. I found it quite intriguing. I haven't marked it in the book. Gee. There it is. There's the rule. So if you've thrown a 2 and a 3, you can't go from 1, 2, 3 because they're blocked. Because you're throwing the dive as individual dive. You don't count them as a 5. You can't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and land there. You're not allowed. It's not allowed. Anyway, that's what I meant by that rule. Anyway, I wasn't going to talk about that. So, yeah, so I'm going to glue that back down, and then I'll show you what I've been doing with the other bits, and we'll stop there. Okay, well, I stuck the surface on, and it's now bowed the other way. Remember, it was this way before, and now it's gone the other way. And because the back is pulling it backwards because it's drying out, and now the front, when it dries out, will pull it the opposite way. It'll pull it back, and what it'll do, it'll level each other out with a bit of luck. And there's a hell of a bow on that. It looks terrible, but don't worry about it, because it will straighten. It will come out. And I've been using my little roller. These are good for large areas like this, because you've got to cover a lot of bubbles in a short time, and the bubbles keep bubbling up all the time. The surface keeps bubbling up, especially if there's a little bit of extra water in, and you've got to keep playing with it. You can't leave it. You've got to keep rolling it to make sure that the bubbles have actually gone. Otherwise you'll find that there'll be gaps underneath, and there'll be dry areas, and it'll bubble up and it'll be horrendous. And there's nothing you can do. You can't do anything with it. You've got to start and do another one. So this is a part you've got to be very careful with. And that's why I've got all the lights on it, because so I can see where it is bubbling. And once it's dried, it'll be okay. And I'll do a shot of it once it's dry. And then, yeah, it's really bending that. It's really drying out the back board, and the front board is still wet. So when that dries out, it'll pull it all back. Anyway, I shan't bore you with that anymore. I shall stop there and we'll carry on again.